Mark, glad to have you. We'll finally get to meet into this podcast. One of my mentors, somebody I look up to for many years. I remember back in 2017 when you got started. It was a very amazing journey. And let's start with some questions. You sold the most out of 1 year we've ever seen before. Okay, you did $5 million in 1 year. That was a big impact. Never seen that before. Never happened since then. But we have a couple contender. Why the journey from selling what you're doing so well to becoming a trainer now?
Yeah, first off, it's been awesome, man. And you call me a mentor, and you're a mentor myself. So that's something that's pretty kind of different from two people. Like we both feed off each other, which is I think the first time I ever met you, I got that feeling of, man, I could feed off this guy and get better. But the $5 million, and it's obviously been coming up all the time, and I don't like it because it kind of gives flowers. But the most I got out of that year was learning about myself. Okay, and that was the biggest thing. And $5 million, I think it's going to happen again. I think it's going to happen probably this year, actually. And I got a few contenders in my mind as well. But there's so much that went into that year, and it was more about the monetary numbers, a lot of goal setting. But we'll get into that a little bit. But it was just something that we kind of ran with every day, and I think we had daily goals. It was me and you kind of grinding in that year. I think we had a hailstorm, a little bit of a windstorm that came in that year. So we had the opportunity. It was just what we were going to do with it each day. And I think we never really set the numbers. We always just said, every single day, and you pushed me every single day to get into the morning and meet homeowners, get some FaceTime with homeowners. But it was just something that kind of just came about, kind of at the end of the year. We kind of looked back at the numbers and said, wow, we did that. And I say we because it wasn't just me. And a lot of those things come up. Mark sold $5 million, but man, we had Megan in the office at that time. Now she moved on to production coordinator. She grew, right? She went up a different role. We had Jennifer, we had you, we had our production team. So it was so much more than just me. I just had the opportunities to get in front of the FaceTime of customers. So that's kind of how that year went.
Yeah, and it opened up a lot of doors for everybody, I think. And that's why we're so passionate about the training that you are leading right now, which is awesome. There's a lot of good things that come out of it. And why did you go from, crushing it, $5 million, and again, you talk about the machine. That's where it started. You're describing it with a team that maximize every opportunity. We talk about sell everything, right? It's not one becomes three mentality. So we sell through the job so we can get three more out of it. But how do you decide? You're crushing it, you're doing well. Obviously, financially, it was a great year for you. Mm-hmm. And to be a trainer, it's a total different, first of all, type of personality, I would say. And different because it's a different role entirely. Now you're teaching others to do your job.
Yeah, so I come from a background of education. I graduated at Coastal Carolina University with education, and I learned a lot about myself, like I mentioned earlier. And what I learned most of is, it was awesome for me. It was a good goal for me to sell, obviously, that much. But how can I help other people? And that is a true passion to mine. I take it to the grave. The true passion is, giving. Okay, and what's better to give than knowledge to other people? It's kind of like Christmas, where you rather receive gifts than give, and you kind of learn a lot about a person. I rather give because I rather have that person feel what you kind of did to them, and it gives them a little bit more of it gives you a lot better feeling when you're giving rather than getting. So, man, if I could teach people, or if I could train people, even just to sell more than what they would have sold before I kind of help them, if we can turn a $2 million salesman into a $3 million salesman, that is going to make it's going to make me feel great, but that person's going to see growth within themselves, and you can't really repay anybody. I can't ever repay you for the mentorship that you gave me. That's going to be something that I always have. It's kind of like a legacy. We always talk about legacy, right? What kind of legacy you're going to leave behind. My legacy, what I want is I want to have impact as many people on. It's awesome that I can do something, but if I could teach people, what does that do? It helps me grow, first off, and it helps them grow, and it helps the organization to grow. So that was my big passion. When you kind of came to me and talked about training, it hit a light bulb in my head, and it took you a few times to kind of get to me, right? I was like, well, I kind of want to sell. I'm a salesman. I have that passion. I'm just kind of getting into it. I want to go. But I kind of quickly realized that, man, if I can teach others not at just one location. When we started growing, we hit Hilton Head location, we had the Wilmington location. I said, well, man, now there's an opportunity not only impact 2 salesmen in the Myrtle Beach location. That $5 million year kind of opened up some doors, which was awesome, because we also had some other salesmen selling $2-3 million a year, which helped out Myrtle Beach location. And what that did was open up opportunities for everybody, right? We had our inside sales team go to production. We had a lot of people that could grow financially because of what we did as a collective group. So the training aspect just comes from my roots of being an athlete. And I remember actually in Little League, I would hit, I was a pretty good Little League player, but what I actually found to be the best, and I still remember this to the day, when I'm like 12 years old, I'm helping, my cousin also played on my team, and he was struggling. I was helping him kind of go over some techniques that I did just swinging a bat at 12 years old. And I remember that feeling that I got. I really do. I remember that feeling that I got when he actually led the league in home runs one year, and I felt part of that, right? I felt part of that because of just the small tips that I've given him. And again, we're 12 years old. It doesn't mean anything, but you always remember the feelings, right? If you teach something to somebody, they're always going to remember that. They're always going to remember how you made them feel, right? So that's something that's just a killer passion of mine, and I want to. And it's just the beginning, right? It's just the beginning, but if we can just take what we know and pass it on to multiple people for everybody to grow, and that kind of goes against the conventional wisdom, doesn't it? Everybody wants to have that knowledge, and they want to keep it, and they want to, just for themselves. But I think if more people kind of realize and understand what they can make other people and how that would make them feel and how that would make them grow as well. A lot of people think that if they teach somebody their tricks or, teach somebody how to do something, that they're not going to be as valuable. Well, you actually become more valuable, and I think you were someone that really taught me that and showed me the way of, you can impact a lot more people. Sometimes you don't think of that, you have it on the inside, and you showed me that I did. So.
And I think anybody who meets you, Mark, will feel the same way too, man. You're very passionate about helping, and it's genuine. It's one of the traits. People can talk about it, but you really believe into it. And it reminds me of a story with Mike, and you relate to this, is whenever it's the one thing of the company, why we do what we do, right? So if we don't sell a roof, like that's a statement, right, that Mike said. If we don't sell a roof, we're not mad that we didn't sell the roof because we didn't make the commission. We're mad because we know that homeowner is not going to get the best service, the best installation, and the best warranties that we provide, So it goes a lot bigger than the financial side that you're definitely not, like you want to have financial side, absolutely, but it's not your goal, So that's very powerful, man. That makes a big difference. And a little bit to relate what you're saying, I would say don't compete, dominate, right? So you're not talking about people are scared to provide information to others, but it's not there. Like, help others become better so the industry can get better, and then we get the con out of contractors. So the contractors that don't want to do the right thing, they don't need to be in the industry anymore, right? We want people that want to be here, that want to do the right thing for homeowners, help them to get the best. It's us or another company. It's got to be somebody that's upper, not average. So you said that before. We said I'm allergic to average, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, you hit it on the head, and that's kind of when we missed contracts that year. And again, I'm going to constantly say when we missed contracts that year, it was never financially. And I think I learned a lot about myself about financials. That, man, it really wasn't about the financials, right? At the end of the day, we didn't say, oh, we sold 4 roofs that day, man, we made this much money. It never came up, right? It never came up. It was more of a competitive edge, and I think we all had that. But it was knowing that if we missed one roof at that neighborhood, or if we missed one roof in between neighbors, we knew that 2 neighbors were going to get the best, and the one in the middle was probably going to be upset, and they weren't going to get the best. They may have got a cheaper price or whatever it may be, but they didn't get what they deserved, really, and it was ingrained in us, and it really does need to be ingrained before you actually can go out there and genuinely feel it, right? We can always say we're the best. Every company's saying that they're the best, but why? And if you genuinely feel that, I think it comes out a lot easier.
That's huge, man. That's huge. And brings me to another question. As a manager, again, when you started at the very beginning, decided not to give you a goal. It was basically realistic versus possibilities. And we're like, okay, every manager wants to set goals. Like my goal, like, hey, Mark, go out there, do 3 million. That's what the other guys are doing. That's your goal for the year. But refuse to do that because I feel like the possibilities we didn't really know. But how do you set goals if you're a salesman? You're in sales, you're out there working for another roofing company, for a roofing company. How do you set goals? Well, you benchmark. You don't want to put a glass ceiling, right?
Yeah, and January 1st just passed, so everybody has their resolution, right? Millions and millions of goals have gone across the world. I'm a big goal setter, but I'm an incremental goal setter. So I like the increments. I like daily, I like weekly, and I like monthly goals. It kind of gives you a little bit, just like a to-do list. What's the best part about a to-do list? Checking it off, right? People love checking off a to-do list. So just like goals, if you set something first off so far out or so high, you never have any gratification until the end. And it takes somebody very consistent and a different personality to actually follow through with the goal. And there's some out there, but it's 4%. Okay, it's 4% of people, in my opinion. So incremental goals. Okay. Sales goals, I don't like to put a number on it. I don't think we ever put a number on it because who knows? We don't know. And that year, that $5 million year, I didn't know. It was my second year in the industry. The year before, I think we sold like a little over 3 million or close to 4 million. So, we were on our way, but I didn't really know. I don't think you didn't really know what could actually happen. So I think every day we had our goals. And what was the goal? Just to meet as many homeowners as possible, right? That was the incremental goal. So I tend to tell salespeople, don't worry about numbers. Of course, at the end of the day, we're going to find the number, but every day push as hard as you can. Okay, and everyone, that's different for everybody, right? Some people have families, so they're going to push 5 days, and some people can work Saturdays, right? So everyone's going to have that incremental goal. Just know you're going to get whatever you put into it, right? So as for goals, for number-wise, I think we need to keep it uncapped because, again, I think 5 million's coming. I think it is coming soon, and it's going to be in territories where people weren't doing 5 million, in my opinion. But incremental goals, daily. Let's meet as many homeowners. I got 3 appointments. Okay, well, I have 3 appointments today. Well, how can I meet 3 other homeowners? Okay, I have a slow day. Well, how can I fill my afternoon? We actually were talking a little bit, a few sales guys this morning said, yeah, I got a free afternoon. One sales guy, said, yeah, well, let's kind of do some training. Awesome. And another person said, well, I'm going to try to get some FaceTime appointments. I'm going to try a door knock, which, is 2 awesome things. But what sells is FaceTime, right? Your training is great, but if you have an opportunity to get in front of other people in the neighborhood of hail, wind, that's what we need to do. So goal-wise, keep it uncapped. I don't think we should ever put a goal cap on anything.
I love this, man. That's amazing. As much as you can. That's amazing. And I love that you're saying, we talked about this before, prime time. Like, to meet a homeowner, you cannot meet a homeowner at 10 o'clock at night, So your prime time from 8 maybe in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, let's say, that's your prime time. Yep. Don't do training. Do sales activity. So that's huge.
Yeah, we call it MMA, People think that we're talking about mixed martial arts, but it's money-making activities,
right.
And the money-making activities just keeps you on pace. It's not about the money, but what we know is it's going to keep us on pace of what we're supposed to do as salespeople. And that's going to be get in front of people, present, and show them why we are the best. Give them insight, educate, and that's what we talk about to salespeople all the time, right? Both of us, it's all about education. Let's educate our homeowners. That's why during the training, I push a lot. Of course, I'm trying to educate them, but I want them to then go back to their locations and educate. And we push that a lot. Even in this past training, I said, guys, I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope you got value out of this. But now to go back to your home location and try to spread as much as you possibly can, you be the educator. Okay, you be the educator, and I think that's how we, start spreading a lot quicker than just 1-2 week training. So
I don't know everything you're saying in the classes, but I can definitely tell you that's working because we got some guys coming at 6 a.m. to do training. I didn't know where it came from. It's starting to make sense now.
Yeah. Don seems like he wants to educate, which is awesome. I hope he put some passion into it. Really, I did. And we could tell during the training he wanted to be a part of it, which is awesome. I love that. He had a year of knowledge and working with us, and he wanted to share what he learned, which is great. And I actually came in today at 6:05, and he already had a training set up at 6 o'clock. Man, that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good because it's like, man, maybe a spark lit under him for a passion that he had. He talked about wanting to do education at one point, but maybe that was a passion that he had, and maybe he can start spreading just from that one training. That's invaluable. It's so invaluable.
Yeah, it's a leadership opportunities. How do you grow a leader? We always promote leaders. How do you grow a leader? You cannot put somebody in a position to be leaders in leadership role without having leadership opportunities. So you give an opportunity to be a leader every morning. Nobody, if you can show up or not, that's what it was, right? The message, you guys want to be there tomorrow at 6 or not? I'm going to be there. So a couple people will show up. He gave a class. It's not script. It's not prepared. So that's a leadership opportunity for him. Confidence after this, he was pumped this morning. He was really excited.
100%. So, it's not a title. Leadership's not a title. And me and Cody were talking about that last night. Leadership is not a title. It just happens. People follow you. Leaders, people want to follow you. You can't just say you're a leader and people are going to follow you. It doesn't happen that way. But it was awesome to see. Yeah, it was absolutely.
So this morning it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so it's early, right?
No.
So we put in a lot of hours. That's something we've been working on to not really to reduce, but to maybe maximize the hours, right? Jim Rohn says you're not paid by the amount of hours you put in, is the hours, the amount of value you bring to the hour, right? So you mentioned a sentence yesterday that got my attention. You said, we want to take you, Cody, from grind to great. The grind. So I'm talking about the grind. We're going 6 a.m. We work all day to 8 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. How do you change your mindset and still be successful from grind to great?
Grind to great, yeah. And that came up to me. Cody gets in front of customers the most in this company right now. So he's grinding with zero sales background, zero communication background, which is awesome to see. And the first thing is, man, how can we make him better? And I think I talked a little bit about it with you today. Is I like to double down on people's positives. It's so easy for Cody and say, man, you need to get a little bit more outgoing. You need to change your tonality. You need to change your body language. You're very even, but he wins with this. So now, okay, you're winning with genuine. You're winning with how you are naturally, and I love that. Now how can we double down on your positives, right? And make it and add a few little. Add a few tips that would just make people feel more comfortable around you to make you great, right? Right now, and in roofing sales, if you're there before the next person, most likely you're probably going to get that job, and just by being there. And if you're not saying stupid stuff and you're actually just, you're giving the basic details, you're probably going to get that job. You'll get 7 out of 10. And now that's what I was telling Cody yesterday. I think you're going to get 7 out of 10 just by being genuine who you are. Man, if you can just add a few things, now you're going to get 10 out of 10. I know he can get 10 out of 10. So that's a little bit about what I try to do is I try to double down on people's positives. There's no need to change somebody. Then you're starting to become fake, and I think it doesn't become genuine. Just like this conversation, with our conversation today, it's just kind of natural, and that's when you're going to get the most genuineness out of it and the realest answers. So same thing with salespeople.
That means a lot. We talk about, to follow up on this, we talk about service sales all the time, and I think Cody's mastering that, right? Like somebody's calling for an appointment tomorrow. If he's got time, he's pulling the appointment today. He's getting wow effect constantly, and it's amazing for him. And we always talk about being nice, break the ice, do your 6 steps of selling, break the ice and make a connection with a homeowner. But when I go, take on a couple leads once in a while, I hear people saying, oh, the other guy was nice. I'm almost glad that they're nice because I know, I'm like, who is ever being not nice and sold everything, right? So when somebody says, oh, they were really nice, that means they probably don't have much information. That's all they're getting to me out of them. So it's a great opportunity. Like, all right, let me crush this. I want to show you everything. What's the importance of being nice? What's the most important thing in selling, basically?
And that's a great question. And being nice, I hope every salesperson's being nice, right? And I tell our salespeople anytime if I get in front of them and they, I say, hey, how'd that appointment go? What do you usually hear? Oh, he loved me. He liked me. He's still getting other quotes, but he loved me. There should be no problem. We're going to sign it. And usually what I think about at that point, and I say, great, okay, just do it, right? We talk about art. Don't confuse kindness with consent. And people aren't going to, a lot of people won't tell you no, right? Just just want to be nice. So I think as salespeople, sometimes we think that just because they think we're nice, or they're going to sign with us, or they feel comfortable with us. There's 3 things that I talk about and what we need to be a salesperson. And one is professional, sharp, on the ball. Okay, and I think Jordan Belfort says it all the time. You have 4 to 5 seconds to actually convey this, which is crazy. 4 to 5 seconds. When your parents, I'm sure, your grandparents or whatever they said, don't judge a book by their cover, right? Have you heard that? Mm-hmm. People do this every single day, and it happens naturally. We do it constantly. We call somebody, we call a business, and we're going to judge them by the first couple seconds we talk to them. It just happens, and it's human nature, and that's okay. So as salespeople, we need to be conscious of that, right? And within 4 to 5 seconds, we got to make sure that we're professional. They got to get that image. They got to perceive us as professional, sharp, on the ball. Number 2, I think they need to be perceived you having passion or some excitement about what you do, okay? Just talk about a product, or do you really believe in your product? So I think number 2, you need to show that enthusiasm. And I'm not talking about yelling and screaming how awesome your product is. I'm talking about that bottled passion, that bottled enthusiasm when somebody's really meaning what they're saying and actually believing in what they're selling. And then number 3, you need to be an expert. Okay. Now it's like, man, how can you perceive somebody being an expert within 4 to 5 seconds? Seems crazy, right? It's just how your tonality and how your body language is right from that first meeting, right? And I think that's so important. If we can be perceived as professional, if we can be perceived as having passion for what we do, enthusiastic for what we do, that bottled, remember, I'm not talking about yelling. And then if we can be perceived as an expert, it's not the words that we say, it's just how we are. So I think those are the biggest 3 things. They say that it takes 7 to 8 meetings after a bad first impression. Do we have 7 to 8 meetings after a bad first impression? We don't have that. We're never going to get it. Usually we have one first impression. And what's very important in our business is we have an inside sales. That's where the selling process begins. So, people are wondering, why are they pushing inside sales? Why is that position so important to Monarch and Martin right now? Well, I get it, because that first phone call is going to set the tone for the whole process, the whole selling process. And I'm a firm believer on that. Now, after that inside sales phone call, what's going to happen? Our project manager is going to go to the home. Now he has, 4 to 5 seconds or maybe a minute. In person, you have a little bit longer than over the phone, but then you have a minute in person to be perceived as, sharp, on the ball, enthusiastic and passionate what you do, and of course being an expert. But it's not the words you say, it's just how you say it.
So powerful. I heard this a little bit related to the BNI group. They talk about this. It says, hey, you have a 60-second event, right? Whenever you present, you have 60 seconds, talk about what you want to talk about, and everybody goes around the table and talk about what their business is and about themselves. Yeah. And I never remember anybody that's got, even the people that have the best speech, people are so worried about the best speech, how it's going to come out. What I remember is the energy. The best people have the best energy. I'm like, that's a winner. I'm going to do one-to-one and more activities with them. But you're right. And Fady was talking about this last week about your subconscious mind makes the decision that your conscious mind will provide in the future, but within 5, 10, maximum 2 minutes that you meet somebody. So you sold your roof already. You didn't even do anything. Just in the first few moments that you meet somebody.
Yep, that first 4 minutes, I'm a firm believer. 75% of the contract is signed right there, just from how they perceive you. It really is. And you hit something on the head. You just said something I wanted to comment on. We always get our sales guys. We want to make that perfect presentation, right? When we do our training, that last Friday of the second week, they're always so nervous about the training and about the presentation that they have to give to the panel, but. I think if we can purvey that it's not about the presentation, it's about just making a connection, and I heard this and man, it really stuck with me. Don't worry about the presentation, worry about the connection, because if you have a connection, the presentation is going to become conversational. And that's what I think every presentation needs to be. I even hate the word presentation in sales, because that means, you're putting on a show. It shouldn't be a show. It should be a conversation. Hey, does this help you? Do you understand this? We're just kind of getting to a common ground, trying to build a commonality, right? We're trying to build a commonality during the sales process. That's all it is, We know we have the best products. We know we have the best production. We push so hard. We're here at 6 a.m. at the office with all of our production team. We know that we're doing things that other companies aren't going to do. But how can we purvey that? Do we have to present it? Or do we just have a serious conversation about it and get them to know that we are really passionate about what we do, we're an expert at what we do, and we're sharp, and we're going to make sure that we're taking care of you. So I think that's where it stems from.
I love it. And you talk about that's great, because you describe in poise, right? Like, what you're going to come. You heard all the questions. There's nothing they're going to throw at you really that you don't know, because you're so well prepared. It's reflexivity. It's in your blood already. Tim Grover talks about this all the time. We got to do it over and over, like Kobe Bryant mentality, over and over and over. So it's a reflex. Yep. That's massive. Then you can really react to what the homeowners needs and wants and be there for them, not trying to push something down their throat, basically.
Exactly, doing the best for a homeowner and showing their passion. I think the best passion comes out from actually truly knowing your product, right? And truly knowing and having that reflex that just comes out, And that's why sometimes it's so tough to teach, right? Because I have that reflex as a salesperson when I'm in front of a homeowner, but now having to bring that out into a classroom, it took me a little bit of time. So actually when I came to this role, I wanted to get back out in the field for a few months. I want to get back out in the field and kind of find out what made homeowners tick. Why am I so, why have I why did I have some success in selling? And it kind of came back to me pretty quick. And I took a ton of notes after each appointment I went on in that first few months, and it kind of came out as a reflex, and therefore I could kind of purvey that to other people, I hope, right?
Absolutely. No, you're making a massive impact, and practice makes permanent. So more you do it, the better you are. So it's amazing. You said this before, like before you get to an appointment, you said you have the first 5 seconds, 1 minute is critical. So you have 5, 6, 7 appointments in one day. You can get through and become like, all right, it's just going through where I'm at now. There's so much. You're going through so many homeowners, so many phone calls. Like it becomes a little bit of a blah.
Monotonous.
Yeah. How do you, is there like a showtime before you get there, or how do you?
Yeah, and that's great. And it unfortunately happens sometimes, and through a long year, it can happen. And that's why I stress the mental prep before each day so much. You know, we have our 6 steps of sales. One of the most important steps, I think, is that mental prep, and that's that 6:30 in the morning till 7:30 or whenever your first appointment is, having that 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour of just prepping your folders, right? Checking out the houses that you're going to go to, so you have some commonality with the homeowner rather than just getting there blind. So I think preparing yourself mentally. Then after each appointment, you got to drop the one that you were on. Okay, the most important appointment of the day, right? And we talk about it all the time, is the one that you're on. So you gotta, if you didn't sign the last one, or you didn't maybe form a bond. I never really cared so much if I didn't sign a contract. I know it sounds weird. I cared more that I didn't connect with that homeowner on a level where I could actually sell them. And when I say sell them, I mean help them, right? Anytime we talk sell, how can I help them? So I left saying, man, how did I not make a connection for them not to go with me? I was more upset in that aspect rather than the financial aspect, or not being able to get a contract and put in AccuLinks, whatever it may be. That was a bigger dagger to me, is not finding that connection with the homeowner for them to trust me enough to be a no-brainer to go with me.
And it's actually part of our interview process. We ask a interviewee, what do you do when you lose? What do you do when you lose at a sport? What do you do when you lose a contract? That's critical.
Yeah.
Your mindset?
Yeah, it throws you off at first. Again, it's natural. It's going to happen. But, through training and through your pushing your own mind, drop it and move on to the next one. And then I think it's also important to go back later that day or the next morning and evaluate why. Okay, drop it for the day, move on to your next appointments. But you also don't want to drop it and forget about it and not go by, because then you're not learning what issues you had or what kind of went wrong with that. A big thing I think a lot of sales guys don't do is call and ask why. Or when they say, hey, I chose another contractor, say, hey, why? And it's totally fine. It's your decision. I respect your decision, because it's truth, right? It's their decision. We can't force anything down people's throat. But I think people are very open to telling you what they thought. Why did it? Was it price? Was it something I said? Or was it something that I didn't convey perfectly? So I think going back to all the people that you don't sign and ask why not, I think it's huge. And I don't think a lot of us did it, and I didn't do it enough of it back then. I think it would have gave me a lot more info. It takes like 2 or 3 of the same appointments that went bad to kind of go back and say, okay, well, there's a commonality between all 3 of these that maybe be the issue.
So hard to learn from your mistakes. So hard, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't want to bring it up, right? It takes that ego. You have that ego. Well, I don't want to go bring that up. It can't be any egos in sales. It really can't. And leadership, there can't be any egos. It has to be. You got to figure out why, or you're not going to get better. And that's what it is all about: is getting better to grow.
So tell me a little bit more about your classes, because you're doing a 2-week training now for a salesman. Every month there's a couple of new salesmen inside or outside, and you reinforce that a lot. You do a role play, you do a presentation at the end. How is this impacting? What do you see from day 1 to the last day? I mean, I've seen it. I've seen guys coming in the first. I don't know exactly what's going on through classes, but I see them when they present. It's night and day already, and they're ready to go. They're ready to start selling and meet homeowner, right?
Yeah, and this past 2 weeks was the biggest training that we had. I think this was the 3rd or 4th one that we've done, but this past 2 weeks was the most. We had 6 people in the class, or 5 or 6 people in the class, but that is so awesome, man, seeing the growth from the first day, and I kind of get that body language look, and I get, how everyone's looking, and then by that end day, I kind of look around, and it's such a difference. What goes on in the classing, I involve, I try to involve the 5. It's one thing of lecturing at people, but if you're not involving them, if you're not having team activities, if you're not going over the 3 steps I kind of mentioned earlier, a big thing in it is body language and tonality. Okay, I think that's a huge thing for not just salespeople. I think that's for everybody, you know. And we talk about sales. What really is sales? Sales is communication, right? Warren Buffett always says it. Sales is communication. I wish they taught more of it in high school. I wish they taught more of it in college. Man, it would be awesome for me, right? I think a lot of us are natural, and then when they get into their first job of sales, they kind of, you know, maybe narrow down what they're good at. But with the training, we do a lot of body language conversations. We do a lot of tonality conversations. I think we open up a lot of people's eyes. We call people out on their body language. We do body language activities. Another fun activity we do is we do storytelling, because I think storytelling is a huge part of sales, and it's something that I've really kind of diverged in within the last year. I always think storytelling, what does that have to do with sales? But people love stories, right? It hits us emotionally. It hits a different tick. So if we can tell a story about what we do or about each product, I think it goes a little bit farther than just the logic of selling. There's two things why people buy. It's a logic. Obviously, I logically need to have this, and I think number one is emotion, right? You buy on emotion. You find something and it hits you emotionally. You tell a good story on it. There was something that I read the other day. They took 200 items from eBay, you know, and these were all like 99-cent items. And then so someone bought them, right? And then they got 200 authors, right, to tell a story about the item. So they just wrote a story about the item. They made up the story. It wasn't a real story. They put those same items on eBay, and they sold for like 5 times the amount just from the story, right? So if attaching a story to something just brings a lot more value to it. And what I love about Monarch is our stories are true. You know, when we talk about story, it's not some fable, right? It's telling you, man, I was on this job site. This person had felt, they had issues, but then we had Tiger Paw, right? And then we told a story about Tiger Paw. Man, it has so much more value, and it gives the customer a little bit more of an image in their head why they need Tiger Paw, and they just don't have to go with the felt. You can tell them every day that felt is not as good as Tiger Paw, right? But if you don't have a connection, if they have no commonality, it won't go as far as what it was. So
that's awesome, man. Create a picture. Tony Robbins, the event we went to a couple of years ago, was talking about this. He crushed it, right? What a great mentor that we both keep listening to, because it never gets old. You always get
changed
something.
Changed our life, man. It changed my life,
yes.
For sure. Yeah, it was awesome.
He's talking
it's
about
all about
this.
emotion. Yeah.
Motion creates emotion, right? He had us going crazy till 9-10 o'clock at night. It was incredible. But the pictures he threw in our mind, that's what I remember the most. And he was so right. Like, if you can draw a picture of somebody else's mind of, like you're saying, Tiger Paw, how you sell Tiger Paw over felt. If you tell them, well, Tiger Paw is 157 times stronger than felt, like, you're just bored. People don't absorb when they don't have a picture. You have a common story. Very powerful.
Yep.
What do you think is the worst thing? We talk about positive things.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing a salesman can do?
Worst thing a salesman can do. Prejudge is one big thing. Okay, prejudge. You know, we talked about our mental prep stage in the morning, and it's so easy. You know, you have a couple $10,000 homes, and then you have a $5,000, $4,000 mobile home that needs to be re-roofed. Well, they deserve the same service. They deserve the same amount of quality presentation, okay, conversation as the $10,000 or $20,000 home. So I think prejudging is a big one. Getting down on yourself. Okay, I'm a big guy of consistent, right? Our C, the first C on the crown is consistent. I'm a huge voucher for consistency, because, you know, if you're giving a borderline presentation to a $5,000 trailer, how can you expect us to change, you know, turn it on and go to that $20,000 home and give a better presentation? Why not just do everyone the same? So having that consistency with each presentation and not having the mindset of a prejudged, I think is a big one that comes off of mine. Man, we could do a whole podcast on some negatives. But, you know, again, focus on the positives and let's double down on your positives.
That's amazing. It reminds me of something we learned again together with Eric Bowles. He's talking about run up the scoreboard.
Oh, man, that was awesome, wasn't it?
That's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah.
But then you take yes, it was. You take every opportunity to run up the scoreboard. It doesn't matter. You don't play till we're going to win. We're going to slow down now. You keep going. Whatever it is, keep adding them up. That's what you were doing to get $5 million. There's not like one appointment like, let's go. I'm going to take it easy on this one. So repair, it doesn't matter. I'm going hard as I can every single time. And you create such a reflects.
There's a lot of mobile homes in that year. We had a lot of mobile homes in that year, and I tell you right now, there's 3 or 4 of them I have right off my mind that those mobile homes turned into bigger homes because of just word of mouth, right? So, I had my aunt or my mother home. Can you check they're in the same location? You know, if I have hail, maybe they have that $5,000 mobile home turned into a $20,000 a ranch that we sold. So don't prejudge, and it's not about the value of the contract. It's just about giving people what they deserve, because if you're going to go to that mobile home and give them subpar service or not do something that you normally do, you're not how's that better for yourself? I mean, I would feel off. But again, I think that comes from that natural salesperson's going to have that competitive edge, competitive feeling of no matter what, it does not matter. If it's my friend or if it's somebody else, I'm going to give them the same service. So
very good. So we talk about the DISC when we do interviews, right? It plays a big role into who we hired. So we're looking for a specific type of personality to hire so it can fit their culture. They understand they're competitive. Like you talk about, would love to have athletes. But can you bring somebody that is average? You say, Martin, I can take anybody average. I can make them great through your training. Do you think it's possible? Or do you think you're a salesman or you're not, you're born with it or you're not?
No, I think it's a learnable skill. I really do. They got to want it. Okay, so that's one thing, and I think we've talked about this for years. Can we just take anybody and turn them into a salesman? No, because they may not want it. I think they got to want it, and I think they got to be doing it for the right reasons. I know a lot of salespeople get in it for the monetary reasons. I think they get it into the monetary reasons at the beginning, and then I think they start to realize if they're doing it at the right organization. If they're doing it in the right organization, they realize, well, it may not all be about the money. It may actually be about doing what's best for people and actually spreading community. Yourself, when you're a salesman and a territory salesman, your reputation's on the line, right? We hear it all the time. I hear it in Wilmington, my reputation's on the line. I want to make sure you do it right? Well, that's that competitive edge. We talk about athletes. I think you do need to have some competitiveness to you to be a salesman for sure. Only thinking that, if you're not competitive, you may not care so much if you lose one. But yeah, I love athletes, but I think you can take something average to great, but they got to want it and they got to want to grow. We had this, what you say here pops someone in my head, and we had a trainee, Amanda, and she came in not knowing what to expect, right? I think there was 2 other girls in the training, but I could tell at the first couple of days, she's like, man, am I in the right spot? This is roofing. But at the last couple of days, I started to see a lot of growth with her. And I was like, man, I think she's starting to figure out the process and starting to say, man, I think this is the place for me. And I think I do want it. So there was a lot of things that came out of this past training where I saw taking somebody that could be average and then maybe wanted to be a little bit different, a little bit like us, a little bit crazy, but a little bit great.
So why you never invite me to your classes, Mark? Sounds so much fun, and I didn't get a ticket yet.
Well, Don said it best, right? There was a video that he sent out to all of us. He said, I think everybody get it, and that was awesome. And again, it's not about me. It wasn't, and the training's not about me. It's nothing to do with me. And I tell the trainees that I want to give as much value as possible. It's not me having a role or wanting to, get any sort of accolade. It does not matter to me. I want to be able to pass any knowledge, anything I can help you with. And it's not just roofing, I think we start going into, when we start talking about body language, start talking about tonality, you can use that anywhere. We do that all day. We do that every single day. We do that. We're going to get a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. How does that person greet you? Do you get a good vibe about them just by what they say or how they say it, right? But I think we go into a little bit more than just roofing and growth and life, and it's pretty cool. And you're welcome anytime. And I'm waiting for that to happen.
I'll be surprised one day. I might be coming in as Macho Man. You won't be able to identify me. But it's a great story about Amanda. True life story, man, can be that. That's powerful. We can take somebody that has no experience in the industry. That's what we talk about this all the time. Like, how much roofing experience do you have? How much Don roofing experience has? How much Rob roofing experience has? Mark, nobody came from this industry. We all ended up here, right? So we all learn. That's something we can learn, through interview process. We can say, okay, can we work with that? Absolutely. But somebody that does not have the drive, that's really, really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You got to have the drive, and then we can kind of maneuver at that point and just give what we know and give how we know it the best we possibly can and see what happens, And again, sales isn't for everybody. We may have some people that pop out, but then we may find them a different role, okay, within our organization. And I think that's what we have a hard time finding, employees to come here because they think construction roofing, I don't know anything about it. Man, I was running a couple sushi bars when you first popped in to the restaurant to meet me, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Why would I go to a roofing company? I'm thinking contractor, no way, but man, thank God I did, for sure.
That's awesome, man. Glad to spend some time with you today. And I got one last question for you. What do you recommend or suggestion for anybody that's outside the industry? Why would they come into a roofing industry? Why would they become a salesman?
So good question. It has to be the right organization. Okay, I think organization is going to steer the path for where you want to be. If you find an organization that is built on wanting to grow, wanting to get better, and not being able to just stay stable, I think you owe it to yourself to give it a try. I really do. It's not about roofing. Zero experience does not matter, but get into an organization that pushes you to grow, pushes you to get better, and there's very far and few in between that does that. Most people have jobs, and that's one thing I really push to people that I talk about Monarch. It's not a job. It really isn't. It's a job because it's a passion. You have that passion, and it's whatever's best, man. I come to you and ask you about something. Yeah, whatever you need. Let's go. Let's push. Is it going to get you better? Is it going to help people? Is it going to help others? Yeah, Martin, I think it's really going to help others. Awesome. Let's do it. So my biggest advice is find a company, find an organization, and I think your organization is a staple for it, Martin. Find an organization that is going to give you the tools to succeed. We talk about it all the time, the tools to succeed, and let you be who you are. You come to my training, I don't want to change you. I want to help you, but I don't want to change you. I want you to sell how you sell because it's going to come off genuine to homeowners, and then they're going to get the best version of you. I don't want them to get the best version of me through you because I could just go there. I want them to get the best version of you with some backing from me, hopefully. So
I love it. Keep pushing on your skills. That's one thing I learned today. Keep pushing on what you're good at and just get even better. Manage your emotion, the way you present yourself, and go all in for
body language and tonality. It's a big thing. Work on it every single day, for sure.
It's amazing. So maybe a little bit of the future about Monarch Roofing and the university that you're talking about. You think there's going to be some classes opening up soon for other people? Now it's simply Monarch Roofing.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a privilege. Any plans? What are your thoughts, vision on this?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we talk about it often. Our goals is, man, how can we impact other roofing companies and help other roofing companies? Man, that seems like crazy, right? And that's when we've kind of lost our minds, because it's like, how can we incorporate other roofing companies and help them out, at different locations outside of where we are. But that's my goal, and that's my passion, is how can we sell other companies on our service and how they can kind of perceive us on, man, can you make my organization better? Can you push what you guys are doing to our sales teams? And I think we can, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to take a lot of work, and I love a challenge, right? And it's I get a lot of people telling me, well, why would other roofing companies come to you guys? Why would they come to you? Well, stay tuned.
That's awesome, man. I love the momentum that's created right now. It's amazing. We see all 3 locations very successful, and I feel like it's more fuel every time you're down in Hilton Head right now. You're usually in Myrtle Beach. When we come here, there's going to be some impact now made, a little bit more fuel on the fire. So we're building something bigger than we all are. So it's very amazing, and I'm glad to share those moments with you, Mark. So thank you very much.
Man.
Just the beginning. Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thanks,
very
Mark.
nice seeing you.
You too, buddy.
Hey guys, thank you very much for listening and being here with me today. I'm really grateful for you and your time. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and click on notifications to get future updates. Thanks for everything.